Hey, good morning y'all, Florida Boy here. Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick follow-up video to the last video I did where I had to reroute the LP line and insulate it because it was rubbing on the battery box, and there was definitely a potential there for a leak, potential for a very bad situation. So I already did the leak test, but I didn't get a chance to film it, so I wanted to do it quickly for y'all. So y'all could see how it's done. It's always a good idea to do that anytime you've made a repair, anytime you've had an LP line taken apart, disassembled, or whatever. Pretty good idea to do it periodically from time to time anyway. Things happen and leaks happen, and even if you suspect something is leaking, this is a good way to check it. So it's not rocket science. You basically just need to get a spray bottle like this right here. Put a few drops of dishwashing liquid in it, put some water in it, shake it up, and just go ahead and spray the area where you want to check for leaks. So go ahead and spray that down real good, and basically want to sit there and keep an eye on it. Make sure you don't see anything bubbling. If you do have a leak, the gas will push out and just kind of make little bubbles. It's pretty easy to see. Again, not not rocket science, but definitely something that needs to be done. Anytime you take a line apart, working on the LP system, you definitely always want to just take a quick minute and check that. So let's check this line up here. This is one of the ones I had off when I took one of the connections I had off when I took this line off. So let's spray that down real good. Hope y'all can see this. I'm kind of doing it blind, but that's just it. You spray it on there, and you go ahead and look for any signs of leaks by bubbles coming out of there. And this one looks pretty good. Like I said, I already did this, but wanted to do it again to show anybody who might be interested in learning how to do this. Alright, we're going to crawl underneath, and I'll show you something else in a minute. Hey y'all, Florida Boy back with you. Okay, so another tip I want to just give y'all real quick is just to let you know that whenever you're working with metal and you've got to cut metal, it's always a real good idea to just take the edge that you cut and knock all the burrs off of it, grind it down, round the corners off. Hit it with your grinding pad, hit it with some sandpaper, whatever. But I've learned these things from experience. You don't take the time to do that, and you happen to rub up against that sharp edge, and you can see the difference here. Man, that'll cut you open like a razor blade. So it just takes a couple seconds to take, like I said, your file or a piece of sandpaper or a grinding wheel or whatever you've got around, and go ahead and round those corners off and get that knocked down. So man, you'll thank yourself later, because that stuff will open you up like a razor blade. Okay y'all, back underneath the RV now, and I wanted to show you this bracket that I installed to hold the LP line. Okay, in my previous video I showed y'all where I had rerouted the line and put this piece of heater hose on here to insulate it in case it would shift and come in contact with the corner of the battery box. Well, I was thinking about a bracket and wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but this is what I ended up doing right here. Got this aluminum bracket, had laying around, cut it down, rivet it to the bottom side of the battery box, and then just put this retainer on here right now. So this is nice and rigid now. It's good to go. I'm satisfied that this repair is done, and time to move on to the next project. I've leak tested it twice now, no leaks anywhere, and the routing of the line now is real good. No issues. Like I said before in one of my previous videos, I traced all the other lines and everything looks good. So again, we're going to call this all good. That's the bracket that I ended up installing, and to kind of keep this with a little bit of rigidity to it. And something else, just a quick tip I want to point out. Couple things. One is, whenever you're doing a repair or maintenance or whatever, you got to be careful that you don't end up creating a secondary problem, or fixing one problem and creating another one. So before I drilled these pilot holes for these rivets, I obviously had to go inside and look inside and make sure there was clearance. I didn't want to drill pilot holes and end up drilling through the bottom of my battery. So whenever you're drilling a hole or access for whatever, you got to make sure there's proper clearance on the other side. Again, you don't want to create you know, a bigger problem than the one you're trying to fix. And then same thing with this bracket. You know, there has to be adequate clearance here, because even though it's rounded, you still don't want the copper LP pipe to have a chance to dig in, and that's not the case. It's got this plastic wire loom on here, and there is sufficient clearance. It's not pinching it down, so we're not going to have any issues here with creating a secondary problem of you know, pipe rubbing through, which is ironically the problem that we're having when the line was routed and rubbing on the battery box. So again, we're going to call this repair all good to go, and move on to the next 99 things on the list. Alright, y'all have a good day. Peace. Hey y'all, Florida Boy here. Okay, so the next project on the RV is to go ahead and replace these door handles. I went ahead and got a couple of them. Reason why I'm going to replace them is they're just old and wore out. The driver's one's cracked, and I'll show you all that in a minute. You got to pull the inside door panel off. I'll show you all that in just a few minutes. You have to remove the rear window track so you can get to all the linkage and stuff. So it's not that big of a deal. A little bit time consuming. You got to be patient, and so I'll kind of show you this and how we're going to get this done. But this is the next project in what's going to be a list of many. So we're gonna go ahead and try to get this done today. So I'll be back with y'all in just. Okay, I hope y'all can see this. It's very, very bright out here. The sun is nice and shiny. It's warming up nice. But you can see right here where there's a crack in this one. Okay, it's old and faded, and when you pull on it, you get a lot of pullback. You see the gap there. So you know what? They were cheap enough, and you know, I'm a little bit anal like that. You know, it's not a big deal to do, and they weren't that expensive. So I decided to go ahead and do that. Going to do a lot of exterior stuff, but like I said, I've got a long list of a lot of things I want to do, but I just happened to choose this one as being the next project that I wanted to do. Okay, so you got to pull the door panel off, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and peel back the inner liner and remove the rear window guide, and we'll get this thing taken out, and I'll be back with you all in a little bit. Okay, y'all, Florida Boy back with you again. Alright, so now I've got the old one off. I've got them side by side. I wanted to show you something real quick. You can see right here that's broken off, and you can see these two have the studs in them. The studs stayed in the old support bracket that goes over the top of it. So, you know, that's why it was pulling away when you pulled on it, because that retainer right there that used to be there was broken. Okay, so that's no big deal. This one comes with the new studs on it. You just have to thread the 10mm bolts back over it. I'll flip them over, and you can see the difference between the new one and the old one. You can see how ugly and old and faded this one is. This one's obviously brand new. The only thing I notice that's any difference at all is the opening for the key lock cylinder. It's a tiny bit bigger in this one, which shouldn't be a problem. The only thing I'm not sure about is how the lock cylinder itself gets retained in this housing. It just slid out real easy, so I'm not really sure about that one. I might just put something in here to hold it in. We'll cross that bridge in a few minutes when we get to it. So you know, it's pretty easy to do, and I'm going to show you something on the door right now. Okay, so another little quick tip that I would give you is anytime you're working on anything, again, like I said in some of the other videos, is you don't want to create more problems than what you're fixing. So a little bit of masking tape around the or painter's tape rather, around the door while you're fishing the new handle back in and hooking up the linkages sure can't hurt anything. You know, you don't want to end up putting a nice brand new handle on there and then end up putting a nice gouge or scratch in your paint. So just a quick tip, and we're going to get this new one installed, and I'll show you all that in a minute. Okay, so there's a new handle, it's on, and after I put the bracket out on the back side of it, I just started the nuts, and before I secured it down, I just took that tape off. So you don't want the the painter's tape or masking tape or whatever you use to get caught underneath the handle and not be able to peel it off. It'll look bad. So anyway, that went pretty good. I'm happy with the lock cylinder. That hole, that access hole, is a tiny bit bigger, but it doesn't look bad. It looks like it's supposed to. And let me just point something out real quick. I hope y'all can see this. You might not. It's hard to tell, but when you tighten these two 10mm bolts up, there's one there that holds that bracket, and then there's one up on the top. Don't over tighten them, just snug them up. You know, if you over tighten them, it's going to pull on that plastic, and that's probably why it cracked in the first place. Well, I mean, age is really what cracked it, but you don't want to crack the new one. You don't want to stress the plastic. It's just plastic. So you just want to make sure they're snug. Don't gorilla them down. Don't over tighten them. And probably the hardest thing about this job is going to be putting the rear window run channel back in. Here it is right here. It's got a 10mm bolt on the bottom, and it slides up in the channel right here. Now, that's the hardest part, just getting it up in there. You got to play with it, and you got to be patient. Slide it up in there, line it up with the glass, and put it back where it was, tighten that 10mm bolt. We're going to do that now. Hopefully it doesn't fight me too much, and then I'll be back with y'all in a minute. Man, I must be living right. That track went right in the first time, no problem. So also there's somewhat of a little bit of adjustment on here, up and down and side to side. So what I did was I marked it before it came off so I can make sure I got it back in the same place. So that worked out good. It's not that hard to change. You got to be a little bit patient. And the next thing you want to do is go ahead and roll your window down. This coach has got power windows and door locks on it. So go ahead and roll that window down. Make sure it comes down in the track nice and smooth. Everything's lined up. Back up in the track, and that's it, no problems. Now, I'm not going to put this door panel back on yet because two reasons. One, whatever animals were in here last time, they installed the stereo and put the speaker on there. This is pretty much how they had it mounted. Not exactly how I'm going to do it. So I've got to get a housing where I can mount these speakers, and I also got to make a little repair on the panel. I'll show you that in just a minute. Hey y'all, Florida Boy back with you. Okay, let me take a minute here and show y'all what's going on with this door panel. Okay, this is the driver's door panel. I had to remove it to gain access to the hardware to take the door handle off with. Now there's two screws that go right in here and right in here, and you need to remove those two screws. That helps hold the door panel onto the door frame. But you do not have to remove the armrest in order to pull the panel off. It's supposed to stay with the panel. Well, whoever put the speakers in, or well, I don't know when it was, but obviously at some point in time someone went ahead, took those two screws out and kind of ripped this out. Now what happened was, you see these three holes back here in the panel, okay? Coming out of the armrest was, I'll try to put this in a position where y'all can see it, three plastic studs coming out of here, and they've just got these little retainer clips in the back of it. So that's just to hold it to the door panel itself, but you don't have to remove it when you take the door panel off. Well, whoever did that didn't know it, and they busted them all out. So what we're going to do is, the fix for that is from the back side of the panel, we're just going to go ahead and put some self-tapping sheet metal screws in there. Got some wide angle ones. I don't mean wide angle. I mean they've got a pretty good little base on the back of them, so it'll hold it secure to the thing. So that's how we're going to fix that, and I imagine the other side's going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and make that repair, fix this. I'm not going to reinstall the door panel yet because I've got to do something with the speaker mount. So I'll show you all that when I get to that in a little bit. Okay. Hey y'all, Florida Boy here, back with you. Okay, so this side's wrapped up. Door panel's back on, speakers mounted. I got the radio on right now, so I'm trying to talk kind of loud, talk over the radio, but I'm going to give a quick pause so y'all can hear the radio, and I think it sounds pretty decent. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this side's wrapped up. Everything went pretty good. Going to go ahead and work on the other side. Going to go ahead and pull that off and repeat repeat step one. So we'll do the other side and see what that looks like. All right, peace.